Welcome to the UNEDAP Interagency Evaluation Training.
Before UNEDAP was
As far as involvement with UNEDAP.
Congratulations to UNEDAP.
UNEDAP has been organizing interagency training.
What makes UNEDAP work?
UNEDAP, United Nations Evaluation Development Group for Asian
to have joined UNEDAP.
That we can make larger impact if we work together and learn together.
I'm probably one of the oldest here as far as involvement with UNEDAP. So let me recall what really happened there. Well, the first UNEDAP training happened in 2009. Yeah, that's what we have on record. In fact, we still have the files from that training. But actually, the inception happened 3 years before that. So there was, in fact, a long time period for conceptualization, getting people's buy-in, and eventually going into action.
Actually, I was also part of the very, very beginning. But because I am from the specialized agencies and I wasn't really quite aware of many things, I think Edgar was right that I think UNICEF probably, the regional advisor then probably talk with some colleague before UNEDAP was doing all this training. It was the headquarters of UNICEF, UNDP. UNDP was quite strong then, to my knowledge. That was started off, and then it developed to become more a regional one. That's what I can remember.
2009, I was a trainee, so I was participant. So I became chair in 2015. So I became so fast promoted from trainee to chair. And I remember, as Paul said, that in the beginning, 2009, a lot of people came from New York or headquarters organization. So the next step was we more regionalized it. It's around 2012, 2013. So that's all evaluation officers in the region manage it. And in 2015, I started to visit TAN, who's now in the FAO. We trying to create a FCD, that time in UNDAP. So UNSCCF has a focus, common interest. So we discussed that is the aim for us to increase the coverage of UNSCCF in the region and quality of UNSCCF. So the training also created to focus more on UNSCCF evaluation.
I mean, we all have our primary hats that we wear in our organizations, but we were able to come together around providing a training because that's something we all have to do. And this was a way to actually do it jointly and see, and we all saw the added benefit of doing it jointly, not just and having somebody else facilitate the session, but also and seeing the interactions between agencies and the learning, the different types of evaluations that are being completed and the different, experience brought from different countries. And so I think that was where, that kind of helped the momentum of the group really gaining traction. And then with as Yumiko was describing, with the integration of looking at how to support, the UNDAF evaluations and now UNSCCF evaluations, we've all now taken responsibility for being focal point, for example, but we all see it as a sort of collective group shared responsibility. And I think that is sort of the core of what makes UNEDAP work, is the sort of co-creation and shared responsibility.
And UNEDAP was for the longest time the only network that supports country teams on the UNDAF evaluation. And UNEDAP really shaped the policy guidance on how the regional level coordination can come together to better support the countries on the evaluation. I mean, let's face it, the evaluations are, the CF evaluations are, it's an extremely labor intensive and a very technical exercise. It's not like the cooperation framework where you just do a TOC, you meet with partners and you put together a narrative. The evaluation is an extremely technical exercise to undertake. So I think because you've been set up for the longest time, you've built the grit and the patience to deal with the government, with the resident coordinator, with the RCOs, with the agencies that do not necessarily meet eye to eye. But I think the level of elegancy, grace, in communicating and engaging with a group of people that is not entirely convinced about evaluation, I think has been the key added value of UNEDAP. So that's why it was only natural for me to get a share of the success.
What I really liked was when we did the DPRK evaluation and joint UN evaluation, and we had to rethink of the whole process. How are we going to do this evaluation, and what are the innovative approaches we can use in a context that all UN agencies are out? So I think that was the collaboration that came through that, with all colleagues involved and supporting. It was really, really good to be able to deliver an evaluation in a very difficult context like DPRK and the emergency and the COVID and all UN staff being expelled from the country and not let in. So it was that component of it to work together collaboratively, I think was fantastic.
Of course, I think I'm the new kid on the block, not in terms of age, but I joined recently, and for me, I've seen, the immediate benefits in terms of what is working well for the 1 year period that I've been around. One is the collegial relationship between colleagues. When I came in, of course, I haven't had like a long time, many years of experience in evaluation, but the fact that the colleagues work together and they recognize the capacity that you bring on board and are able to support and work together with you. And most importantly is, of course, the cross-pollination of ideas and ability to, apart from working together on common products, for instance, the training and UNSCCF evaluations, I also see how we are able to sort of pick the lessons from what other agencies are doing and be able to also apply in our own work.
Evaluation can be lonely business. Usually there's 1 or 2 specialists in a specific office only. So we're always looking for like-minded people with similar understanding or approach to things. And so UNEDAP becomes a family. We help each other, we learn from one another. We constantly seek each other's support, share our experiences. So there's a certain camaraderie and teamwork that we have with one another. It's not a competitive work environment. It's more about supporting each other and working together.
I joined UNEDAP 2.5 years ago when I took my current role. And at the time, Sabrina was a co-chair, and she initiated a meeting with me to orient me what the UNEDAP was about. And it was really great to have that meeting to understand what this network was about, because I wasn't really very much familiar with support the UNEDAP provides to countries. So it was really great to have that initial orientation. And then soon we moved to the development of the 2021 module, where we had the external consultant also supporting us. And it was really great to see how agencies came together, contributing financially whenever it was possible, and then working together to develop that module together with the consultant. So it was really great to see that, because such collaboration is not always guaranteed, but it was really nicely done.
I don't have conclusion, but before COVID, the 1 UN buildings definitely helped us. We had lunch together, cafe together. That's definitely helped. We often met.
I think the reason it's worked, it's also working in comparison to other coordination structures is that UNEDAP was never imposed by anyone. You know, it was genuinely a group of very highly skilled professionals that are possibly lonely also, you know, who are coming together.
I think a driving force for us to come together, because we all have that kind of an independent relationship with the rest of the organization. We can talk much more freely among ourselves over here, because all of us are at arm's length with respect to implementation, versus if I have to talk to my nutrition colleague or to my health colleague, I have to be a little careful what I say and how I interact.
I had a couple of times the colleagues saying that the managers don't spend too much time on a partnership, rather focus on more internal evaluation. So we had many times. So what I suggested, why we discussed, probably it's good to combine with the evaluation strategies, so they including partnership in the strategies.
So that's one, an overcome challenge. And then I prepared a budget accordingly for not a lot of budget that I prepare each year. I mean, you know, that we contribute like probably maximum 5,000 a year, or not a year, for the training, taking turn sometimes.
You know, being the messenger to impose that on a group that was working so well. And I think for me, the biggest challenge is how do I keep the, you know, that momentum rather than being the most hated person, and then we completely lose your agencies are also doing evaluations. So I think, again, it's a fine line and a very diplomatic course of action that, you know, you all take in terms of keeping that separate and giving very impartial, independent advice on the CF evaluation, including on the fact that you drum in and reinforce the need to harmonize the evaluations.
Yeah, I fully agree with Sarwat. And another example is the DPRK evaluation again, that was done totally different than traditional kind of evaluations because of the local situation. And what Sarwat was saying regarding HQ, and we understand the mandate that our colleagues at HQ have, but at the same time, we are closer to the context, so the country office context.
I think other colleagues also mentioned identifying that common goal that every, agency needs to work on and agree on that, and try it in a collaborative way and see the benefits of it.
Part of the questions I've seen from other interagency groups is around sort of formalizing the group. And I actually feel that that's kind of been maybe one of the ways that has, made UNEDAP work, is that it's actually been quite informal. I mean, we do have a TOR, but I don't think it's been updated since 2007. So I would say don't get bogged down on all of the nitty-gritty details, and have more sort of an informal networking is okay. And, maybe over time you could formalize it more.
I think number one thing is the commitment of members. Yeah, because people, if members are not committed to the cause, it's unlikely that it will continue. And of course, that is tied to something of common value.
What I think is interesting is that continuity, because in a lot of these forums, it's a bit patchy. You might get 4 or 5 agencies participating, but not 10 or more like we have here. So that's what I find very interesting.
Yeah, so I think for me, having specific activities, while it's informal, you don't feel that you're meeting for the sake of meeting. You're working on something. And something that as individuals and as a group we perceive is of value.
My advice would be have this group as a service delivery mechanism. You don't want to use it for compliance. You don't want to use it to force people in a certain direction. It's a group that doesn't have any authority, but it has all the willingness to support officers, to work with them, to do service to the practice of evaluations. And that's what we would like to improve, to have strong evaluations for strong programming.
I think the advice for me is, just go ahead. You can't go wrong. I mean, it's proven useful. One of the greatest motivation I have is it's a fulfilling work. It's a voluntary work, but you can see concrete outcome.